Hello and welcome to the Owl's Nest. I hope you guys are all having a great Wednesday, and I hope you didn't miss me too much over Thanksgiving break, but I am back now ready to make more Overwatch League content for the 2020 season. And today we're going to be doing a team preview of the Philadelphia Fusion. So first we're going to go through their roster acquisitions, who left the team, who joined the team, and then we're going to go through their schedule. I'm going to try to predict their record, and then we'll sum it all up at the end. Alright, so let's first start off with roster acquisitions. So first up, they signed Ivy from the Toronto Defiant. I think this is a good signing for them. Ivy got a little bit of playtime there, but the whole Toronto team was a bit of a mess and lacked identity last year. So I think Ivy joining a more stable Philadelphia Fusion, and they already are going to have a very stacked DPS line as we get further on in this roster preview, but I think this is a good signing for them. He has some of the same skill sets as Carpe, which we'll note about another player later in the list, but I overall like the signing. Next up, we have Fury, who is joining the team from formerly the London Spitfire, and this was a bit of a shocking move. London was cleaning house this offseason, but the fact that Fury went to Philly was not really expected. A lot of people thought he might be going to New York, but it looks like he will be playing for the Fusion, which is odd because they already have a great off-tank in Pogo, so I'm wondering if maybe they split time, or if certain trips they have some teammates go and other teammates go, so if they need to rest Pogo or rest Fury, they can do that. It'll be interesting to see. Next up, they have signed Alarm from the Fusion University, and he was great for that team. Fusion University had an awesome support line, and I think he'll do really well for them. He is going to be replacing Neptuno, and I think that'll be good. I think he is a strong, talented player, as well as the other support player they signed, Funny Astro, who was a two-way player between the Reign and the Reign Academy, and I think he'll also be really good for the Fusion. I'm not sure if he will start over Boombox. I don't know if they've decided, but he definitely has a chance to. It'll be interesting to see their lineup. Next up, they signed Hisu from Runaway. For those of you who are unaware of Hisu, he was one of the hit scan mains for Runaway, and he will actually not be eligible until halfway through the season because he has not turned 18 yet, but they have signed him to get ready for that. And I think that'll also be a good signing. He has a similar hero set once again to Ivy and Carpe. However, with traveling as well as with changing metas, it's important to have a lot of DPS players nowadays. Look at how well the Shock did with that. I think that overall that'll be a good signing for them once he's active. And that's going to do it for roster news for the Philadelphia Fusion. No one else got signed. No one else came up. Not that I can think of. Can you guys? Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess there's one more. So Chipsa, the streamer, was signed to the Philadelphia Fusion to some backlash from members of the community. And I'm actually going to go on a limb here. I really like the signing. If you look at the DPS line, and though there are 5 of them for the Fusion, none of them are fantastic Doomfists like Chipsa is. And also, you got to consider the fact that Chipsa is going to add so much marketability for the Fusion. They are already selling Chipsa merchandise now, and the season has not begun. Wait till they have homestands where they can sell autographs with him, photo ops with him. This is going to be great for the team marketability, as well as I think he'll add Doomfist flexibility for the Fusion that wasn't really there. If you notice, the Fusion really took a step back last year because they didn't have a good Doomfist, and I think this could help with that issue. I do think there are other issues with the Path to Pro system that need to be looked at. I don't think it's supported enough, but I do think overall this Chipsa signing is a good thing. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you guys in support of the Chipsa signing, against it? How do you guys think the Fusion's roster looks right now? And let's go ahead and jump into their schedule. Alright, now let's go ahead and get into the schedule for the Philadelphia Fusion. And this time we are doing it on my PC, so hopefully it doesn't lag as much. We'll see how this goes. But first up, let's go to the Washington Justice. I think the Fusion are going to take that match, so we'll count that as a win. Next up, the Florida Mayhem. I think that'll also be a win. I think the Fusion is a lot more improved than both of these teams are. Though they both ended very hot at the end of Stage 4 last year, I still think this is the best way to go. Next up is the NYXL. Unfortunately, I think the Fusion do drop this one. The New York Excelsior has always been a powerhouse. They're almost the New England Patriots of the Overwatch League. And though they haven't had great postseason success, they've had great regular season success. I think that'll be good for them here. Next up is the Toronto Defiant, and this is kind of a toss-up because both teams have improved a lot this offseason. I think I'm going to give the slight edge to the Fusion, just because they've been together for longer and the organization, I believe, is a little bit stronger, so I'm going to give them the win there. Next up is the Boston Uprising. I'm going to give this win to the Philadelphia Fusion. I think the Uprising are a little bit worrying for me next year. They're kind of doing similar things that they did to last year, and that didn't work out so well, so we'll see how that goes. Next up is the Paris Eternal. I'm going to go ahead and give the Fusion a win here as well. I like the moves Paris are making next year, starting to transition to more of a mixed roster, but I think that Philly still has the edge here. Next up is London, and I'm going to give Philly the win here as well. London did just reveal their lineup next year, and it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, and we'll get to that when we get to London's preview, but I think I'm still going to give the Fusion the edge here as well. And next up, we're on to Washington. Once again, I'm going to give the Fusion the win. So, already, similar to the Houston video, Philly's looking hot off the start, so we'll have to see if this continues. Next up, we have Atlanta. I think this will also be a win. So, we're looking at Philly potentially having a perfect March here. I think this could be up in the air. I think Atlanta has improved a little bit, and they had a fantastic Stage 4 once 2-2-2 got implemented. But like I said, I think the Fusion just has a lot of talent on their roster right now, and overall we'll win that game. Next up, they play Toronto again at the start of April. I'm going to go ahead and say they lose this one, so they split their series with Toronto. I like both teams, and I think they're pretty equal in skill, so maybe they just lose this one on a fluke. And next up is the New York Excelsior, and I'm going to go ahead and give this one a loss again for the Fusion. Like I said, I don't think the Fusion have as strong as a roster as New York and as strong as the system, but I see that as a second loss for them. Next up is the Paris Eternal. Once again, I'm going to give Philly the win here. As I mentioned, I like the moves Paris are making. I just think Philly has the stronger team. And then I'm going to also give them a win over London, same thing as last time, as well as Boston. Alright, so overall, if we're looking at the first half of the season, that looks pretty good for them. Only 3 losses, perfect March. Yeah, I think that's pretty strong for them. Now let's move on to May. I do believe they beat the Florida Mayhem once again. I think the Mayhem will improve, just I don't think they're anything compared to the Fusion right now. Ooh, Chengdu's interesting. I'm going to say they win, and the reason why is because they're playing at home. With the home field advantage for them, Chengdu's a weird team, and it's hard for me to predict matchups with them. So I'm going to say Philly wins it, but I think that could be a close one. I think the home field advantage helps for them now. However, I do believe they lose to Seoul. I've talked about this before. I think Seoul is one of the best teams going into next year. They had a fantastic offseason, so we'll have to see how they do, but I think they'll lose that. And then I also think they'll lose to Shanghai. Shanghai has improved quite a bit, and I don't think the Fusion are as good, but we'll see. Next up is the Hangzhou Spark. I'm going to give them a loss here as well. And actually, I'm going to have them losing to Guangzhou as well. Though they're playing both these games at home, these are 2 very strong teams from last year who have improved quite a bit. I don't think... Hangzhou hasn't made a whole lot of offseason moves, but I don't think they'll deteriorate too much. And Guangzhou has brought in a lot more talent, and I think they'll be really strong next year. Next up is Houston. I think I'm going to give this one a win for the Fusion. I do not remember what I gave, what I marked this one in the last video, but I do think this will be a win for the Fusion. I think both teams are strong going into next year, I think I'm going to give the edge here to the Philadelphia Fusion. Next up is the Atlanta Reign. I'm going to say they lose this one, so they share the series with the Reign between their matchup in March and June. I think they're pretty evenly matched teams, and I think that Atlanta will get this one. Next up is Dallas. I think they beat Dallas. Dallas is a big question mark for me next year. There's a lot of powerhouse talent there. I just don't know how it'll work, and Dallas hasn't proved to be super consistent compared to the last 2 years, so we'll have to see how that goes. Next up is the Vancouver Titans. I do believe they lose this. Just looking at how much of a powerhouse the Titans are, I do think they downgrade a little bit this offseason, but I don't think the Fusion are much better. Next up is the Valiant. I do believe they win this one. I think the Valiant have downgraded a lot this offseason, and overall I'm going to give the Fusion a win right there. And then next up is the Los Angeles Gladiators. I believe they will lose that one. And the San Francisco Shock, I believe they will win that one. So overall, a pretty mediocre second half of the season after following a strong first half of the season. And I will calculate the record, and we will sum this up at the end of the video. So overall next season, I see the Philadelphia Fusion going 18-10. I think this is a pretty fair record for them, especially with the improvements they've made in the offseason, and should definitely solidify a playoff berth or at least a spot in the play-in tournament. Overall, I think all of their roster upgrades have been really solid, and I expect a lot from the Fusion in 2020. So let me know your guys' thoughts. How do you guys feel about the Philadelphia Fusion in 2020? Do you think I rated them too high? Do you think I rated them too low? What matchups do you think I got wrong? Which matchups do you think I got right? Let me know. Also, what team do you want to see next in the team preview? In the comments of the Houston Outlaws video, I already kind of got a roadmap of what teams I want to do next based off your guys' suggestions, but I always want to keep my mind open, and I would love to see what you guys want me to do. Anyway, that's going to do it for this Philadelphia Fusion team preview for 2020. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to go ahead and leave on screen a link to the Houston Outlaws video, the first team preview I did, as well as a link to a video explaining what Overwatch 2 means for the Overwatch League in 2020. I hope you all enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys later.